Okay, Kristen?
Okay, Charles.
Right. Let's go.
Hello and welcome to Slow Blinks TV. And today we're talking about Fireball XL5.
Hey, we're in black and white.
Well, the show's in black and white.
Yeah, I don't want to be in black and white.
Slow Blinks.
For those of you who have watched our channel before, this is not the first Supermarionation show that we've spoken about. We've talked about Stingray in the past. Kristen, you love Supermarionation.
I do. I love Gerry Anderson in general, and I loved his puppet phase, which was most of his career.
But you're not just a fan of the puppet phase.
Well, we want to talk about Space 1999 for sure. And then I saw one yesterday called Space Precinct.
It looks great.
But today, we're not talking about that. We're talking about Fireball XL5, which is set in like 2062.
Yeah, it's a very optimistic vision of 2062.
Do you think?
I think so. Well, we'll get into it. This is the first black and white show that we've talked about. Some of Dark Shadows was in black and white, but we talked about a color episode.
Fireball XL5 has a pretty small cast of characters. So our hero is Steve Zodiac. He's a colonel. We have Dr. Venus. She just gets one name, like Cher, I think. You also have Professor Maddox. He does have a first name.
And it's Otto. It has to be.
It's not Otto.
That's so frustrating to me.
It's Matthew Maddox for some reason.
It should be Otto.
He does have a commander. I think his name is Commander Zero. And then there's a Lieutenant 90. But clearly he liked that name a lot. And he's like, I'm going to reuse that later.
There's also some sci-fi characters. There's Robert, the robot. I love this robot design. He's entirely transparent. Like, his whole exterior is transparent plastic, so you can see all the mechanics inside.
And then there's also a creature named Zuni. Zuni is, fortunately for everyone, not very present in this episode, but you will get to meet him. He is like a pet, but he's people-sized, which I find uncomfortable.
Yeah.
There's one more human character that's not a core member of the cast named Dr. Stamp that you'll see in this episode, and then two aliens that we will introduce when we get there.
The episode we chose to talk about today is called
The Forbidden Planet.
All right, we start with Professor Maddox and the doctor character that you talked about. What was his name? Stamp?
Stamp, yep, they are in, it's called the IAC Observatory.
Wonderful sight.
The most powerful ultrascope in the universe.
I'd better switch on the remote TV cameras. Just think of it. Professor Maddox and Dr. Stamp, stars of the Interplanetary Television Network.
Professor Maddox somehow, signals the camera to zoom in on him, and it goes way too close.
Yeah, it crops in way too close to his face. I wish we could see from that camera's actual perspective. Looks like he's about this far.
So, sitting at home is Steve Zodiac, Dr. Venus,
Yep.
Zuni, and Commander Zero. We do get to see Zuni. First, he's falling asleep, and then Venus wakes him up, and he does talk a little bit. Can't remember what he says. Normally what he says is, "Welcome home."
Save it for the bedroom.
Follow me.
It's also puppet smoking, which you love.
I love puppet smoking.
This is when Steve and Venus get into a bit of an argument about what good television is. He only likes sports,
Sure.
and she likes non-sports.
Television always sends him to sleep, and in the case of a good many programs these days, I can't say I blame him.
I don't agree at all, Steve. I think the programs are of an amazingly high standard.
You can't be serious, Venus.
Okay, those are the two types of television. That
Those
makes
are
sense.
comment down below. What do you like, sports or non-sports? I think we're both a non-sports.
So we go back to the space station, and they're focusing the ultra scope on the planet of Nutopia. Nutopia is the most perfect planet in any universe, implying that they are aware of other universes at this point, which is interesting. I'm a little curious about how they determine it is the most perfect planet.
It looks like they have some landscaping that sort of looks Roman.
Yeah, they have a gardener.
So we're going to the planet now because the ultrascope has set off an alarm for the two aliens who have great names.
Perfectus and Privator.
Nobody is allowed to look at the perfect planet of Nutopia.
Which, too late, guys.
Yeah, and so they need to destroy whoever has dared to look upon their perfect planet. And as you can see from the puppets, these are perfect specimens of men.
They must not be allowed to return to Earth to divulge their secret.
Nutopia and its secrets must remain unknown to the rest of the universes.
Project Protectorate.
You have Privator, who looks like Lady Elaine from the neighborhood of Make-Believe.
So one of them has a monk haircut.
Yes, a tonsure, and crazy cheekbones. They were just weird-looking guys, and they talk weird.
It's because they're aliens. So the aliens throw a protector ray at the station, and it immediately knocks out Dr. Stamp and Professor Maddox. The feed is lost.
Steve immediately realizes something is wrong up on the station.
Venus, Commander, come on. Something's gone wrong up there.
Okay, let's go. We regret that we've temporarily lost touch with the Space Observatory. Meanwhile, we'll show you a short film.
But we're going to show you this old movie called Four Feather Falls, which was 2 series before this one. Because it was Four Feather Falls, Supercar, and then this one.
It travels in space or under the sea, and it can journey anywhere.
So the aliens are not satisfied with just disabling the feed. The protector ray also knocked out both the scientists who were working at the station. Now they have to travel there.
They have a travel transmitter. It looks like a little doll shower.
So they get in the shower together, clothed.
So it's okay.
And then they become like incorporeal and travel through space as...
Well, isn't it non-corporeal, Charles?
And then they become non-corporeal, I guess.
Very convenient. Being able to travel through space without being seen.
But they don't seem to be moving particularly fast.
Oh, it seems very slow, but it must be fairly quick. They land. Perfectus has the best laugh. And they take Professor Maddox and Dr. Stamp with them back to their planet.
Yeah, they all have to kind of cram in 4 guys in a little doll shower.
Now they're back on Nutopia.
Right, the perfect planet.
And they have what they call their specimens. Let's talk a little bit about the specimen cage.
Yeah, it's inhumane.
But isn't it non-humane?
We're announcing our divorce. No, but it's like a little terrarium. It's not even tall enough for the 2 of them to stand up in.
So they just have to kind of like sit across from each other. And I imagine it reeks in there. It's like soundproof. They have to like choose to listen in.
There were sounds coming out of them they didn't like to hear.
Basically, what Professor Maddox is saying is that he knows for a fact that as soon as the feed was cut, Steve Zodiac knew what was wrong and is on his way to rescue them.
That is insane. It's correct, but it's insane to think that way.
Steve and Venus and Robert get to the space station. There's a fun way that they travel through space that makes no sense. First of all, they can't use helmets because that would interfere with their puppet strings.
Right.
So they say that they take oxygen
Tablets.
pills or something.
Right.
Which we said is kind of like goofballs in...
Sirens of Titan.
Sirens of Titan,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's like, other people have thought of this. Maybe you could just take a pill that makes it okay that there's no oxygen around.
But it's not just the
I know.
just the oxygen that is the problem.
Isn't it the pressure difference?
Absolutely. Yeah, you'd implode. You'd freeze and implode. I will say that them kicking their little dangly feet in outer space is like funny and adorable, and I just really like it.
Somehow that propels them to the other ship. They get to the station, nobody's there. The view screen switches on, and it is Privator.
And who, may I ask, are you?
I am Privator, guardian of Nutopia.
What do you want with us?
That you will see.
He claims to be in charge of the perfect planet. But he gives real, like, I am the manager vibes, where, like, I don't believe he's in charge of the planet. Steve takes this opportunity while he's talking to Privator.
Quick, Venus. Make a break for Fireball. Get a message to Commander Zero. I'll keep him talking on this thing. It'll be a long time before any Nutopians can get here.
I shouldn't come any further, Earth woman.
So he captures them and takes them back to Nutopia. Literally, Steve Zodiac would not have been able to rescue Professor Maddox and Dr. Stamp if the aliens had not come to get them and take them to their planet.
They don't have access to transporter technology.
They immediately separate Steve and Venus.
Oh, you guys have to see this guy.
We're kind of mid-shave.
Yeah, if you can't tell. The plan for Steve is they're just going to put him in the tank with Professor Maddock and with Dr. Stamp.
It's terrible, Steve. They keep gassing us over and over again.
And then Dr. Stamp being like, they're not gassing us. It's just this old man in here with me. Hey, the Professor Maddock voice.
Yeah. It's an old prospector voice.
It is an old prospector voice.
There's gold in them there hills.
I always wonder whose voice was that first.
There must be some really old movie that we've never seen. So now Steve has been stuck in the fart box and Venus has been taken to a different room while the aliens talk about how they're not attracted to her.
We find out why this is a perfect planet. It's a perfect planet because they got rid of the last woman like 1,000 years ago.
Don't say you're actually attracted to her.
No, of course not.
Never forget, Perfectus, that it was the Nutopian women that nearly destroyed our planet. That is why we had to rid ourselves of all females of the species, so that we could take advantage of the privilege of eternal life.
So they are immortal, sexless beings.
Well, we don't know that they're sexless. They're just certainly not having sex with women.
It really changes the tone of me wondering, like, of like, why do they consider this the greatest or the most perfect planet? It's more about them convincing themselves this is a perfect planet.
But now that they see a woman, they are having some second thoughts.
Immediate second thought.
After that scene, we cut back to the space city, and 0 and 90 are concerned.
Yeah, 0 and 90 haven't heard anything from anybody from the space station, and they're like, maybe we should go check it out.
They take off, I think, in XL1. So I'm gonna call them P and P.
Yep.
One of the P's is like, hey, I'm gonna go to bed. I'll be back in a couple hours. You keep watch. And so the other P is like, sure.
But he's got a secret plan.
Earthwoman, I only want to help you.
Help me?
Yes, help you. I will arrange for your Earthmen to escape
If what?
if you will stay here as my eternal companion.
Never.
Think again, Earthwoman.
So Perfectus goes to bed. We see him sleeping in his little twin bed. Now Pervader sneaks into Venus's room.
To do the exact same thing. He's going to make basically the exact same deal.
I will arrange for your Earthmen to escape
If what?
if you will stay here as my eternal companion.
While he's propositioning Venus, Perfectus wakes up.
Oh, no.
Now, P and P are mad at each other. So immediately they are going to fight to the death over this woman.
This woman whose name I don't think that they've gotten at this point. I love that they blame her. Like, they don't even for a second consider that this is their fault.
The first duel on Nutopia for 1,000 years, and all because of an Earth woman.
So, a duel!
A duel! I freaking love their guns. If I could have like a 3D printed model of one of those futuristic laser guns, that would be so cool.
I'm sure some nerd on the internet has something very close.
Not this nerd on the internet.
That's true. So Professor Maddock and Dr. Stamp are finally able to stand up and they can watch this. They're outside. Thank God. And Maddox's like, this is the hardest thing I've ever seen, which is not true.
Did you say there's an episode where they travel through time?
Yeah, so they can reuse the Four Feather Falls set.
All right, we have this duel. They do their 10 paces.
It's actually 25 paces.
That's too far.
That's too many paces.
But they turn, they fire, there's like an electrical spark, Power Ranger style explosion, and then they both fall down dead.
And Professor Maddox says to Steve, they're both dead.
But Steve switched out the death cartridges in their guns for stun cartridges.
After that, you do see 0 and 90 get to the station and see that nobody is there.
Yeah, and they say that they wish that Robert could talk. And Robert does.
Robert does talk. Back on Nutopia, the gang very quickly hops in the doll shower all together, fully clothed.
Yeah.
And transport back to the station.
Yep.
So they go back, and Professor Maddock is concerned that he did not do the little doll shower right.
I should have turned off the dials.
He just keeps mentioning it, and then you see it looks like an unbalanced washer.
Yeah, it looks like somebody put like too much in the washing machine.
And the aliens wake up and they're like, he didn't turn off the switch. And they go to run over.
Yeah.
It explodes.
It explodes.
That's the episode.
Thank you so much for joining us for Slow Blinks TV.
Yes, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
I should have switched off those dials.